You don't need to drink the whole sea to know it's salty. Yet, most people do exactly that. They drown in more. More money, more love, more approval, more distractions, until they can't breathe. But here's the secret nobody tells you. The truth you're chasing in oceans was already hidden in the first drop. One betrayal was enough to show you who they are. One failure was enough to prove that path was wrong. One taste was enough to reveal what life was trying to teach you. So, why do we keep drinking? Why do we ignore the drop and choose to drown? Because we don't trust ourselves. Because we think wisdom comes in excess, but it doesn't. And that is the trap keeping you weak, dependent, blind. While the powerful, the free, they taste once, they know, and they act. In this video, I'm going to show you why drowning in more is destroying your life, and how to reclaim your power by trusting the first drop. Stay until the end, because once you understand this, you'll never look at your choices or your life the same way again. You don't need to drink the whole sea to know it's salty. Yet look around. That's exactly what people are doing every single day. They keep drinking, gulping, consuming, exhausting themselves. Not because they're thirsty, but because they don't know when to stop. Here is the thing. Life doesn't demand that you swallow oceans. Life only asks that you taste. But most people drown before they ever taste anything real. Think about it. The employee who stays late every night, eyes red from staring at spreadsheets. He already knows he's undervalued, but he keeps pouring his life into the company, hoping that the next promotion will finally make him feel worthy. He's not sipping from the sea. He's trying to drink it dry. And he's choking. Or the lover who bends over backwards, sending texts, planning surprises, erasing parts of themselves just to keep someone else from leaving. Deep down, they already feel the salt of rejection on their tongue. But they don't trust it. So they drink more. They give more, until their entire soul is drained. Or history's grand examples. Alexander the Great, the man who wanted it all. He crossed deserts, stormed fortresses, watched soldiers collapse in the dust. He had the world at his feet before the age of 30. But when sickness struck, he couldn't carry a single coin, a single sword, a single empire into the grave. He drank the whole sea of conquest. And still, death reminded him. One drop was enough to know the taste of mortality. That's the tragedy. We already know. We already sense the truth in the first sip. But we refuse to trust it. And so we keep pushing. More money. More likes. More approval. More goals. More self-help books. More podcasts. More. Until the more drowns us. Let me ask you this. How many times have you known, deep in your gut, that something was wrong? That a job was crushing your spirit? That a relationship was one-sided? That a habit was destroying your health? But instead of acting on the first sip of truth, you drank more of the poison. We do it because we're terrified of missing out. We do it because we don't trust our own senses. We do it because the world keeps shouting, louder and louder. You haven't had enough. The problem isn't lack. The problem is blindness. There's a story about a man chasing wealth. He spends his youth grinding, sacrificing family dinners, ignoring his health, burning his eyes out under neon lights. Finally, in his 60s, he retires with millions in the bank. And then, 2 months later, he collapses from a heart attack. He never tasted the joy of his money. He drowned in the sea of it. It happens in business too. Companies keep expanding, chasing every market, acquiring competitors, swallowing debt. They don't stop at the drop that made them great. They dilute themselves. They stretch thin, and then they collapse under the weight of their own hunger. You see, the sea is endless. It will never run out of waves to drown you. If you think you need all of it, you've already lost. But here's the suspense. Most people don't realize they're drowning. They think they're swimming. That's why they keep going. The man who scrolls on his phone for hours. He says he's just staying updated. In truth, he's addicted to the endless sea of distraction. The woman who says she's just trying to be perfect is already neck-deep in the sea of shame. The student who thinks one more degree will finally give them confidence has already missed the first lesson. Self-worth isn't at the bottom of the ocean. Weakness is not in having less. Weakness is in needing too much. Power is not in consuming everything. Power is in knowing what one drop means. The weak drown in oceans. The strong taste in silence. And that's the trap of modern life. We confuse abundance with wisdom. We think the person with 100 books on their shelf is smarter than the one who read one book deeply. We think the man with 10 women is stronger than the man who builds with one. We think the employee who stays in the office till midnight is more loyal than the one who delivers results by noon. It's a lie. The ocean doesn't make you powerful. It makes you heavy. Let's take a workplace example. There's always that one employee who says yes to everything. Yes, I'll take the project. Yes, I'll stay late. Yes, I'll cover for you. They think they're earning respect. But what do people really see? A person drowning. A person who doesn't know where the line is. And respect doesn't go to the one who drowns. It goes to the one who knows when to stop. Now think of the opposite. The leader who says no. The one who listens to one idea, cuts through the noise, and decides. The one who doesn't need to drink the whole sea of opinions to know what works. That's the person who commands a room. Not because they know everything, but because they know enough. History again proves this. Napoleon. For all his flaws, he understood speed. He didn't wait to gather every scrap of intelligence before moving. He trusted a drop. He acted fast. His enemies waited for the whole sea of information and lost. So let me ask you again. Are you sipping from life? Or are you drowning in it? Because here is the brutal truth. Most people are not tired because life is hard. They are tired because they are drinking too much. Too many obligations. Too many relationships. Too many opinions. Too many distractions. Life is salty enough in one drop. But they keep drinking the sea and wonder why they feel sick. Here's what this means in your life. You don't need to experience every failure before you realize a path is wrong. One failure is enough. You don't need to stay in 10 toxic friendships to understand how betrayal feels. One betrayal is enough. You don't need to chase every promotion to know that career titles won't save your soul. One promotion is enough. But the tragedy is, people don't believe the drop. They think truth only counts when it comes in oceans. And so they waste their lives drowning. And maybe you're feeling that right now. Maybe you're exhausted not because life is cruel, but because you've been trying to drink it whole. Pause. Look at yourself. Look at the way you live. Do you wake up already drowning in thoughts? Do you spend your day drowning in tasks? Do you go to bed drowning in regrets? If you do, it's not because life is broken. It's because you've been drinking oceans instead of drops. That's the problem. And until you see it, you'll keep drowning. You don't need oceans of evidence. One drop of truth is enough. The illusion is that wisdom requires more. More experience. More pain. More failure. More books. But the reality is this. The essence is always contained in the first sip. That's what most people miss. They keep drinking, hoping that somewhere, at the bottom of the sea, the taste will change. But salt is salt. Truth is truth. It doesn't need repetition to be real. Think of fire. You don't need to stick your whole arm into the flames to know it burns. One spark on your skin teaches you everything. But what do people do? They keep walking into infernos, convinced that maybe next time, the fire will be kind. The same with betrayal. You don't need to be stabbed 100 times to know someone is false. The first cut was enough. But people say to themselves, maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I need more proof. And so they let the knife return again and again. That is weakness. Power is in trusting the first drop. The strong don't drown. They taste. They sip. They discern. They act. They don't need the entire sea to be convinced. Think about a king on his throne. He doesn't taste every plate of food in the banquet to know if it's poisoned. He trusts the first test. He trusts his senses. And then he moves on. That is why he stays alive. But the commoner doubts. He questions. And in his hesitation, he consumes what kills him. This is the revelation. The world tricks you into believing that value comes from abundance. But wisdom is essence. And essence is always small. A single conversation can change a destiny. A single decision can end a war. A single act of courage can rewrite a life. Let's take history again. Alexander drank the whole sea of conquest and died unsatisfied. But look at Diogenes, the philosopher who owned nothing. When Alexander stood before him and asked, "What can I give you?" Diogenes simply said, "Stand out of my sunlight, one drop of truth." That a man with nothing could still be free, while a man with everything was still enslaved. Or think of Rosa Parks. One woman, one decision, one bus seat. She didn't need to launch 1,000 protests herself. She tasted the drop of injustice and acted on it. The ripple shook a nation. Or Steve Jobs. He didn't try to build 100 different gadgets at once. He trusted the essence. Simplicity. One phone, one vision, one product that changed the world. While others drowned in the sea of features, he focused on the drop that mattered. The drop is always enough, if you trust it. But here's the tragedy. Most people distrust themselves. They need oceans of validation. They say, "I'll quit this job after I'm certain it's hopeless. I'll leave this relationship after I've suffered enough proof. I'll start my dream after I've researched every possible outcome." And so they never move. They die with their lips still pressed to the sea, still drinking, still hoping for a new flavor. But salt doesn't change. Truth doesn't change. What this really means is, the first moment you felt the pain, the first time you tasted the salt, that was enough. That was your sign. That was your proof. You didn't need more. The wise see the pattern in one thread. The foolish demand the whole tapestry. Do you see the difference? When a child touches the stove and cries, they learn instantly. They don't touch it 10 more times just to be sure. Their body trusts the signal. But when adults feel the sting of betrayal, or the ache of wasted time, or the fatigue of meaningless work, they pretend they need more data. They touch the fire again, and again, until they're scarred. This is where freedom lies. In trusting the first drop. In daring to stop when you already know. Look at the great generals of history. They didn't wait for perfect information. Perfect information never comes. They moved on instinct. They read one sign, a shift in the wind, a hesitation in the enemy, and they trusted it. That is why they won. Look at entrepreneurs who thrive. They don't run endless focus groups, endless reports, endless market surveys. They spot one drop of truth, one customer reaction, one spark of demand, and they act. That's why they rise while others drown in analysis. So, let me ask you again. How many drops of truth have you ignored in your own life? How many times did you already know? And yet, you kept drinking. The revelation is this. You already know enough. You just don't trust yourself. The sea isn't your teacher. The drop is, and if you keep waiting for oceans of certainty, you will never move. Because certainty doesn't come in oceans. It comes in moments. Moments when your stomach clenches, moments when your chest tightens, moments when your gut whispers, "This is it." That's all you need. One drop of truth is worth more than a lifetime of drowning. Here is where the tide turns. You've seen the problem. You've tasted the revelation. Now comes the transformation. If one drop of truth is enough, then the secret to power is learning how to see with less. Sounds simple, right? But it's not. Because we are addicted to more evidence, more reassurance, more distractions. We are gluttons for the sea. So how do you unlearn that? How do you retrain your mind to sip instead of drown? The first step is this. Trust your signals. Psychologists call it decision fatigue. Every choice you make drains your mental energy. That's why by evening, people binge junk food, buy things they don't need, and waste hours on screens. They've been drowning in choices all day. But here's the thing. The strongest people don't wait until their willpower is empty. They design their lives to sip, not to gulp. Look at Steve Jobs. Black turtleneck. Blue jeans. Sneakers. Every day. Same uniform. Why? Because he understood that energy wasted on trivial choices is energy stolen from vision. He didn't need to drink the whole sea of fashion every morning. One drop simplicity was enough. Or, take Warren Buffett. He reads a few annual reports, studies a handful of businesses deeply, and bets big. He doesn't scatter his attention across every shiny stock. He tastes the salt of truth in a few investments and ignores the rest. That's why he wins. This is how transformation begins. By refusing the ocean. By tasting the drop. Here's a practical hack. Next time you face a decision, stop asking, what do I need to add? Ask instead, what can I subtract? Most people try to fix their lives by piling on more. More books. More goals. More advice. But what if the real strength is in cutting away? Bruce Lee once said, it is not daily increase, but daily decrease. Hack away at the unessential. That's how a martial artist trains. Not by learning 1,000 kicks halfway, but by mastering one kick until it becomes unstoppable. And this isn't just philosophy. It's raw psychology. Your brain isn't designed to process infinity. It thrives on clarity. The more you simplify, the stronger you become. Let me give you a workplace story. There was a manager who tried to control everything. Every email, every meeting, every detail. He worked 12-hour days and still felt behind. His team respected his effort, but they didn't see him as a leader. He was drowning in the sea. Then came the shift. He stopped attending every meeting. He delegated decisions. He focused only on the 3 outcomes that actually mattered. Within months, his team outperformed everyone else. Why? Because he stopped drowning in the ocean of tasks. He trusted the drop of priorities. Now let's bring it closer to home. Think about relationships. Most people think love is about doing more. More texts. More gifts. More sacrifice. But love is not in the ocean of gestures. It's in the drop of presence. In looking someone in the eye when they speak. In truly listening. In showing up. That's what people remember. Not the 1,000 things you did, but the one time you were fully there. And here's another truth. Freedom is not in having endless options. Freedom is in knowing which options to ignore. Take the story of the Spartan warriors. They didn't try to fight like everyone else. They stripped down their strategy to essence. Shield, spear, discipline. 300 men holding one line at Thermopylae against thousands. They didn't drown in complexity. They trusted the drop of simplicity. And it terrified their enemies. This is where the real transformation happens. When you realize that less isn't weakness. Less is power. Weakness is spreading yourself thin. Power is concentration. Weakness is drinking until you choke. Power is sipping and knowing. So here's how you practice it. Cut noise ruthlessly. Stop reading 10 books at once. Read one, finish it, apply it. The drop is enough. Limit obligations. Stop saying yes to every request. Choose the ones that align with your core. The rest is just seawater. Trust your first signal. If something feels wrong in your gut, it is. Don't wait for oceans of proof. One drop is enough. Focus on essentials. What are the 3 things that matter most today? Do them. Let the rest drown itself. Practice silence. The world screams with oceans of noise. But wisdom comes in quiet drops. Now, I know what you're thinking. Doesn't this mean I'll miss out? Doesn't this mean I'll be less informed, less prepared, less connected? No, it means you'll be sharper. Because drowning isn't knowledge. Drowning is death. The mind that sees with less is the mind that sees clearly. Look at the samurai. Before battle, They meditated on death. Why? Because once they accepted the drop of mortality, they no longer feared the ocean of possibilities. They could fight with absolute clarity. Look at entrepreneurs like Elon Musk. Whatever you think of him, he bets on essence. Electric cars, rockets, neural tech. Each move is concentrated, not scattered. He isn't trying to swallow the entire sea of industries. He tastes one drop, commits fully, and changes the world. And look at yourself. Think of the last time you were truly alive. Was it when you were juggling 1,000 things, running on fumes, half present everywhere? Or was it when you cut away the noise and gave yourself fully to one moment? The transformation is not in addition. It is in subtraction. When you learn to see with less, you gain something extraordinary, peace. Not the peace of doing nothing, but the peace of knowing what matters. And that peace is strength. Because the man who trusts one drop can walk away from oceans. The woman who trusts one truth can ignore 1,000 lies. The leader who trusts one vision can stand against the world. So, here's the question. Are you ready to stop drowning? Are you ready to transform? Are you ready to see with less? Because once you do, your life changes. Forever. This is it. The moment everything comes together. You've seen the problem. You've felt the revelation. You've glimpsed the transformation. Now comes the call. And it is not gentle. It is not polite. It is a demand. Stop drinking the sea. Taste the drop. Because here's the brutal truth. Your life is shorter than you think. And most people will waste it drowning in oceans that were never theirs to drink. Do you want to be one of them? Do you want to be remembered as the man who tried everything but finished nothing? The woman who gave to everyone but owned nothing of herself? The worker who spent 40 years gulping salt water for a company that spit them out in retirement? No. That is not why you are here. You were not born to drown. You were born to taste. Taste the salt in one drop, and act on it. You already know that relationship is wrong for you. Stop drinking it. Walk away. One drop was enough. You already know that job is crushing your soul. Stop swallowing the ocean of excuses. One drop of fatigue was enough. You already know that habit is destroying your health. Stop waiting for the doctor to hand you a diagnosis. The first cough, the first short breath, the first moment of weakness, it was enough. What are you waiting for? Another wave to hit you. Another storm to knock you down. Another year to pass while you drown. Wake up. Stand up. Spit the ocean out of your lungs and taste the drop that was already telling you the truth. Let me paint this clearly. You don't need to read 50 books to grow. One book, lived fully, can transform you. You don't need 10 mentors to guide you. One wise voice, trusted deeply, can redirect your entire life. You don't need to chase 100 goals. One worthy goal, pursued relentlessly, can make you immortal. The ocean is a trap. The drop is your compass. Think of the stories we remember. Moses didn't part 10 seas. He parted one. Rosa Parks didn't fight 1,000 battles. She made one stand. Leonidas didn't win every war. He held one line. The drop was enough. Because they acted on it. And you? What drop have you been ignoring? What truth have you been drowning? What moment have you been postponing, hoping that another ocean will make it clearer? It won't. It never will. The taste never changes. So here is your call. Cut the noise. Cut the excuses. Cut the drowning. Taste, act. Move. Stop waiting for oceans of certainty. They don't exist. Stop waiting for perfect timing. It never comes. Stop waiting for absolute proof. You already have it. The first drop was enough. It has always been enough. And here's the final twist. Life will not wait for you. The sea doesn't care if you drown. The world doesn't care if you hesitate. But you should. Because you only get one life. One chance. One drop. So taste it. Own it. Live it. Not tomorrow. Not someday now. Because if you don't, the sea will swallow you. And no one will even remember your name. Taste. Don't drown. That is your call. That is your command. That is your life. When all is said and done, when the noise of the world fades, when your name is no longer on anyone's lips, what will remain of you? A life that drowned in oceans, or a soul that lived in drops? Here is the truth you cannot escape. No one remembers the man who drank everything, but the world never forgets the one who tasted wisely. The sea is endless. It will always be there, tempting you with more. More money, more applause, more distractions. But the wise know the sea is not for drinking. The sea is for watching, for respecting, for learning, and then for sipping only what you need. Because here is the secret. Freedom is not in swallowing everything. Freedom is in knowing when to stop. One drop of love savored fully is worth more than oceans of empty affection. One drop of truth lived courageously is worth more than libraries of ignored wisdom. One drop of courage acted upon is worth more than years of silent fear. History whispers this lesson again and again. Epictetus, the slave who became a philosopher, he owned nothing, yet one drop of wisdom made him freer than his masters. Helen Keller, blind and deaf, yet one drop of communication opened her world to infinite possibility. Siddhartha, beneath the Bodhi tree, one drop of stillness revealed enlightenment that oceans of desire never could. So here is what you must carry. Do not waste your life drowning. Do not chase oceans of proof when the drop is already speaking to you. Because, in the end, death comes to all. And death will ask one question. Did you sip or did you drown? The ocean swallows the many, but the drop awakens the few. Be one of the few. Be the one who lives not in excess, but in essence. Be the one who sips with clarity while others choke on more. And when your time comes, when you close your eyes for the final time, may your soul whisper with peace, I did not drown. I tasted, and in one drop, I lived. So, now you know. You don't need the whole sea. You never did. One drop of truth was always enough. Enough to walk away from what's killing you. Enough to rise into the life that was waiting. The question is, will you keep drowning? Or will you taste, trust, and finally live? Because the ocean will swallow the many, but the drop will awaken the few. Be the few. Be the one. And never forget, you don't need everything. You just need the drop that changes everything.